SEC Chair Gary Gensler has been on the warpath against crypto for quite some time, but in the past 24 hours, he brought out the big guns, aiming right at the largest U.S. crypto exchange. Coinbase shares are nosediving about 12.33% right now, down 20% over just the last two sessions. The stock action comes on the heels of lawsuits filed against not just Coinbase, but against the Cayman Islands-based Binance exchange as well. So regarding Coinbase, the SEC alleges it's been operating as an unregistered securities broker, offering and selling securities without registering those transactions. The exchange firing back, accusing the SEC of weaponizing its office to harm the American economy. Its chief legal officer saying, quote, the SEC's reliance on an enforcement-only approach in the absence of clear rules for the digital asset industry is hurting America's economic competitiveness and companies like Coinbase that have a demonstrated commitment to compliance. The solution is legislation that allows fair rules for the road to be developed transparently and applied equally, not litigation. The exchange is also facing scrutiny from a task force of 10 state regulators, with New Jersey and Alabama dropping their attacks right at the same time, alleging today that Coinbase violated state security laws as well. So the SEC filed a similar suit against Binance on Monday, accusing the exchange of violating securities laws, mishandling customers' funds, and misleading investors by commingling their funds with another operation that the owner, CZ, actually runs as well. With Gensler's intentions for crypto becoming crystal clear now, could this be the final kill shot for cryptocurrencies? How can they survive? Let's bring in one of Bitcoin's biggest bulls and early investors in the crypto space, Pomp Investments, Anthony Pompliano. Pomp, give me your thoughts on this, your gut reaction to these lawsuits.
Yeah, Liz, thank you so much for having me. I think there's a couple of key things that people need to remember. The first is that in the United States of America, people are presumed innocent before being proven guilty. And so what we're about to see here is a court is going to hear arguments from both the government and the regulators, and then from a business. And ultimately, I think that the court is going to decide. But this is not a new debate. We have seen for years and years people across the industry, both inside of crypto, outside of crypto, people in the legal profession and people outside the legal profession, all trying to debate what is a security? Do these assets meet that standard or not? Now, what is interesting about this is we're going to get an answer here, right? The courts are going to ultimately hear out both arguments and they're going to make a decision. So there's going to be clarity. For years, I've said to folks, look, yes, we want regulatory clarity, but do not confuse regulatory clarity with it actually being rules that you may want. So we may get clarity, but they may not be the rules that you want. And so be careful what you wish for. Now, the other thing that I'll call out here is there's a difference between centralized exchanges and decentralized exchanges. The decentralized exchanges continue to be relatively unharmed. There's not really any regulatory enforcement against them, and they continue to operate bull market, bear market, regardless of regulatory environment. One last thing I'll say is there's offshore and onshore. The crypto analyst Will Clemente from Reflexivity Research recently put out a piece, and he talked about the fact that 86% of all trading volume is outside of the United States already. Now, that's interesting because regardless of what happens in the United States, whether these assets are considered a security or not, I do not think that there's going to be any impact on the international adoption of these assets. And in fact, if there is actually abrasive action here in the United States, maybe what we will see is an acceleration of adoption outside the US as more people move offshore, more people start to adopt these assets, realizing that they truly are international assets and not US-based assets.
Well, what do you make, Pomp, of the fact that most of the cryptos, the majors like Bitcoin and Litecoin and Ethereum, are moving higher? In fact, when you look at Bitcoin at this hour, it looks like it may very well overtake 27,000 again. It's at 26,932 at the moment. So the market initially was shaken, and now it's stirring higher.
Yeah, I don't really pay that much attention to the day-to-day prices. And frankly, I really just pay attention to Bitcoin more so than anything else in the industry. But what I can say is that Bitcoin seems to be the asset that has kind of passed all of the filters. So most of the regulatory organizations around the world, not just in the United States, all agree that Bitcoin is not a security and therefore it isn't going to run into any of that abrasive action. There's a lot of questions about these other assets. Certain jurisdictions like them, certain jurisdictions don't like them. But what I do think that you see is that any sort of asset that is outside of kind of the legacy financial system, especially when it's decentralized like Bitcoin, it is going to respond in a positive manner whenever it is a clear line being drawn in the sand. There's centralized entities and there's decentralized entities, and Bitcoin is the winner in the decentralized.
I just want to say on your screen, the SEC has named these 13 tokens, including Solana and Polygon, as securities, not as currencies. So, I mean, we got to see how they are establishing that categorization, right?
Yeah, I don't have that answer. I don't think anyone really has that answer. And so ultimately, the regulatory bodies, they have a perspective. The companies, projects, and people in the industry have a perspective. And it looks like we're going to go to court and we're going to get an answer here. And so we'll see what happens.
What about the ongoing Ripple SEC lawsuit? We've been waiting for some clarity on that one. The SEC originally took aim, I believe it was its very first attack on crypto when it filed that against XRP, saying it was not a currency, but rather a security. And do you foresee any sort of clarity on that particular lawsuit soon?
Yeah, what usually happens in these situations is when the SEC comes forward with some sort of action, usually companies will either take one of two paths. They will either say, yes, we are going to settle and we're going to kind of choose a quick end to this battle, or they kind of dig their heels in and they say, look, we're going to go fight this in court. What appears to be the strategy of kind of XRP/Ripple, whatever the entity that you want to kind of describe there, is that they are choosing to go and debate it, to go and present their case. And so that can take a long time, right? These litigations can literally play out for years and years and years. That entity has quite a bit of capital and seems to be a desire to go and fight it. And so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we're looking at a 1-week picture of XRP. The intraday looks pretty interesting. It is now up, but over the week, it's certainly off its 1-week highs, but it is now trading at 52 cents when about a year ago it was more like 34. Pomp, one last yes or no answer here. Was this and these two lawsuits by the SEC the kill shot for crypto, or no way?
I don't think that anything anyone is going to do is going to kill Bitcoin, and Bitcoin continues to be the king of this entire industry, and I don't see that changing anytime soon.
Anthony Pompliano, great to have you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.